Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today we'll be discussing a complete home theater guide. In this guide, we'll be deciding on three things. First is the number of channels you need for your home theater, that will be based on the room size. Second is the budget of the entire home theater system, that will be based on how many hours you're viewing. And the third is how you'll be distributing your budget, your total budget, amongst the number of channels you need for your home theater. So, this is what the video will be about. And also, this video is not one of those videos where we'll be talking about the cheap stuff. In this video, although you'll get to know how much money you should be spending, I will not be recommending any products below 53,000. 53,000 is the minimum budget you need to have in order to buy a hi-fi home theater system. Now, when I say hi-fi, I mean good quality sounds. I can recommend the lower quality home theater systems, but I don't want to. There are enough and more videos about that on the internet where they'll recommend you using Mica or Taga Harmony along with Fuzzy Audio or IMA systems. So I don't want to do that because those experiences, I've had those experiences, and those are not hi fi products. Those are not good quality sounding systems. They have different problems, and I don't want to get into that. Maybe in a separate video, I can talk about it. But for now, this is for hi fi home theater only. So let's get started. Now, the first chart that I'm showing you over here is about the room size and the room dimensions. So you can walk around the room and calculate how much the area of a room is. A step roughly is 2.3 feet. Just take the number of steps from end to end in your room and multiply it by 2.3. And then you'll get your room dimensions roughly, which is what we need. So for small, it's 100 to 200 feet. I would recommend you either go for a 2.0 system or a 2.1 system. For a medium sized room, it'll be 200 to 400 feet, large 400 to 700, and extra large 700. Now, based on the room dimensions, the channels are recommended. I will be posting my recommendation as well. But as per room dimensions, 2.0 and 2.1 channel should be in a small sized room. For medium sized rooms, we're looking at three, four, or five speakers at ear level. We can also have an Atmos setup with 5.1.2 or 5.0.4 or for 5.1.2 or even 5.1.4. So it really depends on how you want to configure the system. There are a lot of options here. In large, I would recommend a 7 channel at least. So you're looking at 7.1, 7.1.2, 7.1.4. And at extra large, we're looking at a reference grade system. So this is 9.1.2 or 9.1.4. 11.1.4, honestly, I've just added this for the sake of it, but there is no use case over here. So 9.1.4 is the top tier system that you should be having. More than that, it's of no use in my opinion. Now, the reason that I say that 9.1.6 there's no use is because the content that you're getting is not mixed beyond 9.1.6. So you need to have an upmixer or an upmixer in your AVR in order to make use of those channels. So if you look at this document, which is shared by Netflix for its partners, their mixing is done at a minimum of 7.1.4. Optimal is 9.1.6. Now, any configuration, anything that you stream on Netflix which has Atmos setup, it is mixed at 7.1.4. And if you choose any configuration which is below this, Down mixing is very simple. It's done by every AVR. So there you won't have any problems. So your optimal speaker configuration at max should be 9.1.6, and according to Netflix it should be 7.1.4. Now I just have information about Netflix. I don't have information about any streaming partner because they don't display that information, but I'm guessing that they follow these standards. Next we have the budget. So if you look at this chart, if you have less than 2 hours of viewing, your audio system budget should be 25%, 2 to 3 hours, 50%, 3 to 5 hours, 100 to 150%, greater than 5 hours, 200%. Now, why has this budget been decided according to that? Now, when you're looking at content, that is just one sense that you're engaging, we, which is your sight, but you aren't doing anything for your ears. Whatever budget, ideally, whatever budget you spend on your TV should be spent on your sound system as well. But if you don't have that total overall budget, or you didn't think of that and you don't want to spend, then at least 50% is what is recommended over here. Below that, honestly, you should be investing it something which gives you greater returns, like investing into a TV which has maybe better speakers. That will probably give you more returns. But 25% of your total TV budget will give you diminishing returns. Now, let's get on to selecting your audio system according to your budget. Now, if you look at this chart, whatever budget you have for your TV, you go ahead and select that. Keep that number, whatever that number is. This chart will make it easier for you. And next, we'll go on to how much budget should you be spending based on the number of channels you want. So, over here, if you look now, this is just for information that I'm showing you and how I'll be calculating this. So, the front left and right speakers have 70 to 90% activity, and this is based on the content which is there on the internet, any content which is there on the internet. The center channel, if you see, is 90 to 100% active, so it's very important. Surrounds 40 to 60%, not that important. Subwoofer 20 to 60%, even less important. And height, they are the least important speakers. And based on this, you should be deciding how to spend your total budget into these different type of speakers. So if you look at this chart essentially tells you right from 2.0 setups to 9.1.6 setups how you should be spending your budget. So go ahead and select the setup that you want to go for and then decide on the budget. So go ahead and select the setup that you have decided based on the room dimensions, and you should be able to calculate how much you'll be spending on each speaker. Now we'll go through another chart wherein we have the channels and the budget. Now the budget will be decided as minimum from the AVR itself. So I have selected the least costing AVR as of now, and then from that decided my total budget and then divided into the number of channels that I need. So for a 2.0 and a 2.1 setup, I have taken the Yamaha RS 202, which costs 21,000. For a system from 2.1 to 5.1, I've selected the Denon AVR X250 BT. And then from 5.1 to a 7.1 or a 5.1.2, I have selected the Denon AVR X 1700H, which is a 7 channel system, and a 9 channel system is the Denon AVR X 3800H. So this is how the table goes. So select your setup, then highlight it for yourself. This is roughly the minimum AVR spec that you can go for and how much you should be spending on whichever speaker it is. Now, I am not going to go through every setup. Instead, I will be going through every speaker, AVR, as well as subwoofer. I'll be sharing that chart after this so that you can mix and match however you want to. Now, the reason that I mentioned in the beginning of the video that 53,000 is the minimum budget that you require in order to have a hi-fi system is because of this chart. While preparing for this video, I was doing calculations and then I was recommending the systems that you should go for. Up till 53,000, there was no system that I would personally be happy with. And this is what the video is all about. It's all about recommending those systems to you for which you will enjoy a long time. And an investment needs to be put down there. If you go for a cheaper system, it'll probably be marginally better than your TV speakers. And that is not the experience that I would be recommending. You should invest that money somewhere where it'll give you higher returns rather than here. And while having said this, I do have recommendations even at 20,000. But having heard those speakers, which where the entire system costs you 20,000, the entire experience was so abysmal that I would not wish that experience on anyone. Getting back, let's go over to the chart. In this chart, we are going with the minimum cost of AVR based on the setup, which is there on the first column. So for a 2.0 and to 2.1, we have the Yamaha RS202. Now, this is a stereo receiver. It's not technically an AVR, but this is the cheapest hi fi system that you can use. If you want an AVR, then the next thing is to buy the Denon AVR. There's not much of a price difference over here, it's just 4,000. So you can go for the Denon AVR, but since we are building it at budget, so the RS202. Also, on a side note, if you do build a 2.0 or 2.1 setup using the Yamaha RS202, you can always use the stereo receiver as a zone 2 amplifier. Let's say you've bought a Marantz NR1711. Now, these kind of receivers do have zone 2. And in your zone 2, you can configure the Yamaha along with two stereo pair or a 2.1 and have them controlled by the Marantz itself. So all I'm trying to say that they'll never go to waste. And if you do invest them today, you'll always use them tomorrow. So don't be afraid of that. But if you do have the money, then go ahead and invest in an AVR. That's always a better option. Next, we have from 3.0 to a 5.1 Denon AVR X250BT. This is a decent AVR. I was a little skeptical in recommending this because this has its own set of issues, but there is nothing close at this price point that I can recommend except the Denon. And next we have at 48,500 is the Denon AVR X 1700H. Now, this is where we enter into, let's say, the low to mid tier price category. So the AVR does get better. You get eARC as well. So if you have a TV that's eARC enabled, great. You don't have to worry about the remote for the AVR separately. It's there. Another AVR that I would recommend besides the Denon would be the Marantz NR1711. It's a little pricier than the Denon and it uses a Class AB amplifier. It has a warmer tone of sound that it kind of pushes to the speaker. So the brand sound is a tad different than Denon. Denon uses a Class D amplifier, but yeah, I'm a Marantz fan. The Marantz NR 1711, if you can spend in, let's say, around 5 6,000 more, the Marantz 1711 comes in at around 55,000. Also, fun fact, Denon and Marantz are owned by the same company. So, yeah. Now, these AVRs that I've recommended over here, these are the minimum prices in India as of now. If you want for alternate AVR options, I have a chart for you, a small chart here. We start off with the Yamaha RS202 at 21,000, and then we'll start going higher. So we have the Denon AVR X250BT. It has ARC, but it doesn't have AirPlay. So, yeah. So at 26,000, this is a solid buy. Yamaha RX V83 ARC with AirPlay, but that's 43. Now it's hard to recommend the Yamaha, which is at the same channels as the Denon, but double the price point. Denon over Yamaha at this price point, I would say. And as you go down, the Denon AVR S series, S660H, and there's another one, S760H. Now, with the Denon, avoid the S series. They are usually plagued with issues. And I've heard this from a lot of people. I haven't experienced it personally, but these are plagued with issues. So try to avoid them as much as you can. The Marantz NR series are well renowned. There were few issues back in the day, but they've resolved them. So I can vouch for them. The Yamaha RX V4A, good AV receivers. Yamaha did a good job with them. The Anthem AV MRX. Now, these are 5.2, but they're incredibly expensive. Unless you have a budget of 10 lakhs, I wouldn't recommend these. Then you have the AVR X 1800H. I would recommend the X series over the S series of Denon. Again, the S series are plagued with issues. And then we have the Yamaha V6A. The Yamaha V6A, they do a very good job when it comes to room correction as well as general tone of the audio. So Yamahas are very easy to recommend. And the Avantage series is again quite well made. And a 9 channel system is the Denon AVR X 3800H, which can give you configurations like 9.1.2 or 5.1.4. And then we go into super luxury items like Arc Cam or the Emotivas. These are incredibly expensive AVRs. They are, all of them are quite good. I personally haven't used them, so I can't give you a personal recommendation. But having used every AVR below, I would say 1.7 lakhs. 1.7 lakhs, I've pretty much experienced most of the AVRs. The ones that I've recommended don't have any issues. And the ones I don't recommend, please try not to go for that. Now, moving on to speakers. I have categorized all speakers which are available in the market today somewhere till 70,000. If you want to go above 70,000, then I can make a separate video. But the entire cost of a system, if you calculate, if a pair of speakers cost you 50,000, then it suddenly adds up a lot. Whatever speakers I've recommended, they will reach a total cost of 2 lakhs very easily. If you put in the most expensive ones that I've listed over here. So yeah, I think if you're building a system for more than 2 lakhs, then I think I need to make a separate video on this. But till 2 lakhs, these are your options over here. This speaker table is sorted by frequency range. So as you go down, the lower frequency essentially will keep on increasing. And generally, the trend is the lower frequency, if it increases, the size of the woofer also decreases. So that's a trend that you'll see. Let's start with the Polk Audio Monitor XT10. Now, the XT10 is a speaker that is cheap. To be honest, it's got a 6.5 inch woofer. I've experienced these. They have very good bass, but the mids and the trebs completely destroy the sound profile of it. I would not recommend these. Even though they have 6.5 inch woofers, they say they reach 38 hertz. They don't. Technically, they reach somewhere around 40, 42 hertz. So, in my good conscience, I don't think I'd want to spend 34,000 on a speaker that I'm not happy with. So, yeah, there you go. Now, the next thing, you have the Monitor Audio Bronze 100. These are extremely well made speakers with an 8-inch driver, 1-inch tweeter, frequency range going low at 37 rated, but it goes as low as 32 to 33. The only point of contention over here is that they're backported and they are bright. So if you like bright sounding speakers and you have space at the back of the speaker, they need at least 7 inches to breathe, then only go for monitor audio, otherwise don't. So if you're going for the monitor audio lineup, then go for the bronze hundreds as a front and then bronze 50 as a surrounds. Targa Harmony 807s, these are just terrible speakers. I've seen these speakers, I've experienced them, and these are all over the place. Targa Harmony is one company that you should not buy. They make just terrible speakers. Anyway, ELAC Debut 2.0 B6.2. Very good speakers. I own them personally. I've been using them since the past 3 years, and they go very low. 44 hertz is rated, but they go as low as 40 hertz. Yeah. 6.5 inch woofer, very good. Great sounding neutral speakers. And then you have Q Acoustics 3030, again, 6.5 inch, big on bass. You can do away even with the sub over here. They go very low, they go at around 40 hertz. So it can be used, but these are again backported. So you need some distance off the wall. Then we have the ELAC Debut 5.2. 5.2s, you can use them as surrounds if you're using 6.2, or you can use them as fronts if you have a subwoofer. So be careful here. Polk Audio XT10, they are just terrible speakers. Skip them, please. I've heard them. Now, these speakers are something as if you've taken a speaker and you're listening them from behind a wall. They're that bad. So no, don't go for them. Dali Spectre 2. These are award winning speakers, although they are at 5 and 1/4 of an inch. These go pretty low to around 54 hertz. So you could, if you're not a fan of bass, then maybe you can go away without a sub. But my opinion over here with the Spectre 2 is you do need a sub. So Dali Spectre 2, if you're using, go for a sub. Edifier P12, again, terrible speakers. I don't know why anyone would buy them, but yeah. LX3. LX3 can be used as 2.0s. So the front channels, they can be used. Uh, and I want to say that you can go away without a sub, but their frequency response doesn't go below 53, 55 hertz. And even though they are 6.5 inch woofers, I wish they went below that. But with the LX3, they are a little hard to recommend. I would honestly recommend the LX2 over the LX3s because the LX3s are at a better price point, give you almost the same frequency range, and you're paying less. So LX2s over LX3s. LX3s are a little hard to recommend. Mica MB42, terrible speakers. Again, even the MB42X, they have, I think, a decent treb, if I remember correctly, but rest everything is bad. I mean, at 4 inches woofer, you can't expect much. Pole Cordio T15s. These remind me of the XT15s, to be honest. It's as if you're listening them from behind a glass cover or behind a wall. I mean, T15s can't even used for surrounds, to be honest. So definitely no. Mission LX2, one of my first buys, and I love them. They do need a sub. You can't have the LX2 without a sub. Whatever the frequency range of the Mission LX2 is, they do it very well, very neutral sounding towards the warmer end, but you need a sub. They can't hit low. 60 hertz, they say 60 hertz, but it's actually somewhere around 62, 63 hertz. So you need a sub with the LX2s. Q Acoustics 3020, very balanced speakers. Soundstage might be a little less than the 3030s, but good speaker to buy. But honestly, if you were to go for a ported, back ported speaker, I would recommend the LX2s over the Q Acoustics 3020s just because of the price point. And then we have the Pole Cordia Signature Elite ES10. Now, these are okay speakers, but at 25,000, again, they're competing with the Mission LX2s. And there is no way that I can recommend the ES10 over the LX2. So LX2 is the way to go. Now, the LX2 that I bought, those were my first speakers. The LX2s that I bought, they're now being used as surrounds. So they do pretty good job as surrounds as well. The Q Acoustics 3010, you can use them as surrounds only, nothing else. You can't use them as front channels. Now, if you've seen the trend over here, the trend is that you can use the 4-inch woofers as surrounds, 4 to 5 inch, you can use them as surrounds. You can use the 5 to 5.5 inch woofers as fronts, but you'll need a sub. And 6 above, like 6.5 inch woofers, you can use them without a sub. And this is the general trend that is there. Go for brands that are well known, that have been tried and tested. And that's why I've listed down in my notes over here so that you have time to reference them. Now let's get on to subwoofer. Again, I'll be showing you a chart over here to go through all the subwoofers that I can recommend in every price category, starting from 40,000 and going till 1.8 lakhs. At 40,000, I would recommend the Pole Cordio Monitor XT10. These are back-ported, downward firing. Now, and these subwoofers are only 50 watts. Their maximum power rating is 100 watts. So I can only recommend them for small rooms, not for large rooms at all. They are low powered, so they do have issues. Also, these subwoofers don't go as low as 20 hertz, unlike other subwoofers. So you can't expect much from them. The frequency range states that these go below 30 hertz, but in my testing, they didn't. They went as low as 32 at audible listening levels, but beyond 30 hertz, they're not very effective. Clips, on the other hand, at 60,000, 56,900, they go as low as 25 hertz. They've listed 29 hertz, but they go as low as 25 hertz at audible listening levels. These are backported. Again, anything which is ported, you need room to breathe. So keep them away at least 6 to 7 inches from the wall. Next is Q Acoustics. These are sealed subwoofers and with the frequency range of 28 hertz, which is okay for a sealed subwoofer. These go low and these are extremely punchy. So you can expect good punchy bass from them. Then we have Definitive Technology Descent DN10. Now these are 10-inch woofers, and mind you, they do sound like 12-inch woofers, to be honest. Their frequency range is lower than Q Acoustics, and that is why they're on the list. So at the same price point, you have lower frequency sealed subwoofer, and they're very easy to recommend. The Klipsch SPL, they are front ported woofers. They've stated 25 hertz as their lower end, but they do go low. They go as low as 25 hertz at audible listening levels, and they're very easy to recommend. Then comes the 1 lakh category, and 1 lakh or above. There is no other brand that I would recommend other than SVS. These are tried and tested subwoofer brand, and every audiophile that I've ever listened to or heard or even seen their reviews, SVS is the brand to go. You cannot go wrong with an SVS subwoofer. So beyond 1 lakh, it's SVS all the way. I would not recommend any other subwoofer other than SVS. My personal preference is to go with sealed subwoofers because I tend to use for music as well as home theater. But if you are only using for home theater, you can go for the PB series as well. So SB is sealed, PB is ported. It's very simple in their lineup. So if you have SB 1000 Pro, there is a PB 1000 Pro. The PB series will reach below the SB series, but having experienced SVS SB 1000 Pro, this is plentiful bass for any sort of home theater setup. I have used these in a 150 square feet room. I've used these in a 250 square feet room, and this is plentiful. If you do have a higher footage area to cover, then you can go for the SB 2000, and even more, let's say at 500 or 600 square feet, then the 3000. So, this is the entire home theater guide, right from budgeting to selection of channels and selection of speakers, as well as a subwoofer and AVR. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer them.